Welcome to this next episode of our virtual tour of the Holy Land. Today we are at the Pool of Siloam where Jesus healed the blind man. Although the complete Pool of Siloam is being excavated right now, we are in the section that was unearthed as of October 2022. But still, the message from the Pool of Siloam remains the same.
Our group is now at the Pool of Siloam. But before we hear from Hans, we want to take you on a super short virtual tour of the Pool of Siloam as it was in October 2022, with a brief look ahead to what is being unearthed as we speak. And then please join our family as we lead you in a short time of worship just before Hans shares.
Welcome, dear friends, to this virtual tour of the Pool of Siloam and the Pilgrimage Road. Today, we'll dive into the significance of these sacred sites. But before we begin this tour, we want to let you know that this virtual tour today will be very short. And why is that? Well, it's because two of the most important archaeological excavations are taking place right now at this very spot. One is the complete exposure of the Pool of Siloam, and the other is the opening of the Pilgrimage Road that led pilgrims from the Pool of Siloam after their purification rites and up to the temple. So what we can show you now is nothing like you'll see in the coming years. But still, here's a little background. Let's start with the Pilgrimage Road, also known as the Stepped Street. For almost 10 years, a team of archaeologists has been on an epic quest to unearth the Pilgrimage Road, bringing a 2,000-year-old adventure back to life. This ancient road, stretching 600 meters, begins at the Pool of Siloam and ascends all the way to the Temple Mount's doorstep. Hidden beneath the city, this ancient road is paved with stone steps. Imagine millions of pilgrims trekking up this path to visit the temple, their footsteps echoing today throughout history. Now, back in the day, this road wasn't just a pathway. It was a vibrant street market, teeming with life and activity, one of Jerusalem's main lifelines. Picture it during the Jewish festivals, as described by the historian Josephus, swarming with nearly 3 million people. And guess who else walked this path? Well, Jesus and his disciples. Walking here, you are literally following in Jesus' footsteps. And ironically, who do we have to thank for this historic pathway? Well, historians point to Pontius Pilate, yes, that Pontius Pilate, the very governor who ordered Jesus' crucifixion. While it'll be a couple more years before the public can fully explore this site, imagine the stories and secrets these ancient stones will share with future pilgrims. We can hardly wait to return. Now, let's move to the Pool of Siloam, remembering that it's being excavated right now, but it won't be available for full visits for another couple of years. We are excited to see what's about to be shown in the time to come. In 2004, while fixing a water pipe south of Jerusalem's Temple Mount, archaeologists stumbled upon 2 stone steps. As they dug more, they found these steps were actually part of a huge pool from the Second Temple period. That's the same time when Jesus was around. The pool they uncovered stretched out to 225 feet in length. This pool was where people would ritually cleanse themselves, then up to the temple to offer their sacrifices. The pool is best known to Christians as the place where Jesus healed the blind man. I'll read part of this account from John chapter 9. As he went along, he saw a blind man from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus. "But this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." After saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. "Go," he told him, "wash in the pool of Siloam." This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, "Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg?" Some claimed that he was. Others said, "No, he only looks like him." But he himself insisted, "I am the man." "How then were your eyes open?" they asked. He replied, "The man they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see." Standing here today, even without the full excavation, we can envision the awe-inspiring moment when the blind man's darkness was transformed into a radiant vision. When we visit the pool of Siloam, whether it's the fully exposed pool or not, we remember Jesus' compassion, his power, and his ability to restore not only physical ailments, but also our spiritual brokenness. Thank you for joining us on this very abbreviated virtual tour of the Pilgrimage Road and the Pool of Siloam. Until our next episode, may God bless you abundantly as you continue to remember that Jesus is the light of the world, and in Him alone, we find true healing and restoration from our spiritual blindness, just as the blind man received his physical sight right here at the Pool of Siloam.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see that you're working, even when I don't feel that you're working, you never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
So where are we at? We are just inside of the southern tip of the oldest part of Jerusalem, down in the valley. And this is the pool of Siloam. They are not sure if it's the same pool that is mentioned in the Old Testament, but it's for sure the pool in the New Testament, and perhaps it's the same. And this was used for purification rites. Fresh water coming straight into it, so it was pure. I was here perhaps 15 years ago. I joined a tour with 3 people, and we had the most excellent guide. He was the assistant to the archaeologist who has been leading the excavations here. And when I was shown around by him, most of this area is newly excavated. And they started to excavate on the stairs that is straight ahead like that. You can go in and have a peek after I've talked. You cannot come too far. You can go up like 25 steps and then you have to go down again. But they are about to open it up so you can go all the way. And what he said was that 2,000 years ago, you came here 3 times a year as a pilgrim, right? To celebrate the feasts if you were a law-abiding Jew. And we have this text, of course, about, Joseph and Mary coming up with Jesus when he was 12 years old. Well, that was, of course, not the only time they went up. That was, as it seems, their regular habit as a law-abiding Jew to come up to Jerusalem 3 times a year. And now, very shocking, in those days, no cell phones, right? So, how would you communicate with people that you for sure wanted to meet, your friends, your relatives, that came from other villages? I mean, you knew approximately when you would arrive here, but in those days, the layel was not 1 hour or 2. The layel was perhaps 1 or 2 days, back and forth. So how would you know where to meet? In our days and age, it's very easy. In those days, harder. So what he said was that, just picture this pool of Siloam. It was big. It was right at the entrance to the city. This was the main way you ascended up to the Temple Mount. When you go in there, you can see pictures that are depicting the pool, very beautiful. Beautiful surroundings here, paved stone and all that. hundreds, if not thousands of people every day around there, especially around the feasts. And you will also see those pictures depicting how the road went up through partly stairs all the way up, like a majestic passage, helping you to ascend up to the Temple Mount. It was broad. Hundreds, if not thousands of people every day, especially around the feasts, walking up. So this would be the normal place to meet. And therefore he said that they have found out that if you did not know where to meet, if you came from Nazareth, for example, and someone else came from Bethlehem, and you were part of the same, you knew each other, you were relatives, and you wanted to meet here for the first time in half a year perhaps, then you would meet here at the pool of Siloam. So you would go here regularly. If you arrived to Jerusalem, you would go here regularly, several times a day, to check if your relatives have arrived. Wasn't that pretty smart? Then you had a meeting place. And that also testifies to the significance of this place 2,000 years ago. So one thing that was pretty awesome when I was here with the assistant to the chief archaeologist was that they had found out, when I came, they had just opened up the stairway going up to the Temple Mount. It was only a week ago. And what they had found when they opened up that stairway was something very odd. And you can see it when you go in there. And that was that some of the stairs on the right-hand side, someone had cracked the stone open. So you could see down to an empty space beneath the stairs. And it was so really odd. Who would have an interest 2,000 years ago, because no one has seen this for 2,000 years, who would have an interest in, cracking them open? So what did he do? Well, they understood this might be mentioned in Josephus. Josephus is a Jewish man who became a Roman general. And he wanted to show his loyalty to the Jewish people. So he wrote about biblical history, and not the least about the uprising of the Jews, 66 to 73. And he wrote lots about how the Romans crushed that rebellion here in Jerusalem. So now they have excavated and they have found this hole, several holes in several stairs. And they ran up, he told me, and I met him 1 week after this happened. They ran up from here and they ran up to the office. They opened Josephus and they started to read a 2,000-year-old text, the Roman Jewish general, if you will. And they found the passage where Josephus writes that when the Romans came to the stairs right above the pool of Siloam, they suspected that the zealots had hid beneath the stairs. So they cracked the stairs open and went down and they caught the zealots. I think that's kind of cool. How you can check out, 2,000 years ago history is perfectly correct. If we read from John 9, we hear about this very place. And it's very fascinating because Jesus heals thousands. But what we find out in the New Testament, we only have a few examples, right? Of the thousands and thousands and thousands that he performs a miracle on. In fact, his miracles are so provable that even those who are against him testify to his miracles. They just say it's from the devil. But they do not say that he doesn't make miracles. They say he makes lots of miracles, but it's from the devil. So he heals thousands. We only get a glimpse, a couple of examples. And there we find out, in a fascinating way, that Jesus heals different people in different ways. And he has different messages that he sends by healing people in different ways. And now we have something very strange. And I will just give you one thought. You probably have many more good insights into this, so you'll get just one little piece here from me. John 9 verse 1. As he was passing by, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, Jesus answered. This came about so that God's works might be displayed in him. This was a blind man. Most probable, he was already hearing what was going on. How he reacted, we do not know. But all of a sudden, he must have started to understand that the famous Jesus, the famous prophet, that more and more people believed to be the very Messiah, he had now stopped and he was focusing on him. He could not see him, obviously, but he heard him and he understood that he's right now approaching me. And then he goes on. We must do the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. That was the same thing that he had said during the feast of, and now it's hard for a Swede, Sukkot in Hebrew, the feast of booths. Booths. I almost rick my tongue. It's booths. Anyways, during that feast, Josephus, the same general, Roman Jewish general, he testifies to that during the feast of booths, they erected two 25-meter poles in the courtyard of the women leading to the temple, 25-meter tall. Under each of these poles that were 25 meters tall, they had a jar containing 15 liters of oil. So 60 liters under every pole. And he keeps on describing, and I think you have this also in Jewish other scriptures from that time, how the priests, the young priests, they climbed up the poles and they used old priests' clothes as the wick. And then they tell us that they lit those lampstands during the whole feast of the tabernacle. And Josephus writes that you could see the light in every street all over Jerusalem. And they danced around the poles. And in the innermost ring was the rabbis. And some of those rabbis could juggle with different things like torches. So it's a big party, right? Perhaps it is then, most probably it is then, that Jesus cries out in John 8:12, when they are dancing around those big lights. Jesus spoke to them again, I am the light of the world. Anyone who follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So he connects to that in the chapter that follows after it in John 9. I am the light of the world. And now he's going to show it through a man who is blind. And now listen how odd this is. After he said these things, he spit on the ground, made some mud from the saliva. I looked at mud in the Greek language, by the way, right before I preached to you right now, and mud means mud. Incredible. It's a miracle. He made some mud from the saliva and spread the mud on his eyes. Now this is very, very strange, very, very different thing to do. Can you imagine that man standing there? Like, what's happening? Right? Well, go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. Because Siloam, or Siloam that you say in English, I think that sounds very tough. Siloam. That comes from a Hebrew word that is salach. And salach means to send, because the water was sent to this pool from the spring of Gihon. And therefore it was the sent water who already had been sent, salach. That's what it is called, the pool of Siloam. And now Jesus, he steps into that word when he sends him. So this man is sent, he left. And now just picture this. Just imagine this man now coming. It doesn't say that Jesus went with him. Rather that he went by himself. I mean, he was for sure accompanied by other people, but Jesus stayed behind. But this guy comes in. Can you imagine? Hundreds, if not thousands of people are here, you know, waiting for the relatives. This is the center. Before you ascend to the Temple Mount, this man comes running, you know, with the mud on his eyes, and then people tell, it's Jesus. Jesus did this. Jesus has put that mud on his eyes, and Jesus has salach. He has sent him to Siloam. He sent him to the pool that has the same name. And now the man is, you know, going down into the pool, and he starts to wash his eyes. And now thousands there are aware of that Jesus has done something very strange. And those who live in Jerusalem know, and we see that later on in John 9, they know he was born blind. He's blind. He's always been blind. And they tell others that. I'm from Jerusalem, I know a guy, he has always been blind. He's been blind since birth, and now Jesus has done this, you know. So everybody was just watching this guy. And he's washing his eyes. And all of a sudden, for the first time in his life, he can see. I would say that was pretty smart of Jesus. That glorified his name. So this man comes up and can see, and the rumor just spreads, and Jesus' temperature goes up to an even higher fever pitch. Jesus has given sight to the blind man.
Thank you for joining us at the Pool of Siloam. As you may be able to tell, the message was a short one. Our bus has pulled up right by us, and because it is rush hour, we had to leave earlier than expected. But this just gives you a more realistic feel of what a real pilgrimage on the ground is like. Sometimes you can spend significant time at a spot, and other times your stop needs to be very brief. This is Israel. And as it is said, the only thing that is consistent is change. But we can still learn from Hans's shortened message. So let's just dig in here for just a minute. Hans shared not just about the miracle of healing of the blind man, but also Jesus' strategic manner in sharing the word. We see in the Gospels that Jesus is very strategic in his ministry. It's not just random activity. He ministers out of Capernaum, which was a strategic hub of commerce and activity, where the word could be spread through all those passing through.
We can also see this in the Apostle Paul's ministry, where he strategically chose places of significance like Corinth, Athens, and Ephesus, where the gospel would be spread more rapidly. Strategy and wisdom are not contrary to God's will if we are being led by the Spirit and are not being sinfully manipulated. Perhaps the question for each of us today is, how can we strategically share the gospel as a church, as a member of our community, as an employee, or in another specific and unique position where God has placed us? I've had burning bush moments and unquestionably divine interventions in my life. But I also say that God more often leads me by spreadsheets. I used to berate myself for that until God reminded me that He is the God of extraordinary miracles, but He is also the God of wisdom and strategy, as we see in the lives of Jesus and Paul. So let's take a quiet moment now to reflect on the unique position God has placed each of us in, the unique voice, skills, and experience that God has given each of us, the unique community God has led us to, and to ask God how He can use me specifically or my church specifically to share His gospel in a strategic way while there is still time. Let's quietly consider this now. If you have not already done so, please go to breakforth.org to download the accompanying Bible study for this video. And if you would like to support this series to enable us to share this for free around the world, please prayerfully consider a gift by visiting breakforth.org.
Until next time, may God richly bless you, and may He break forth in wonderful ways of love, peace, and purpose in your life and in the lives of others.